Hi, I'm a male human, and I'm currently sitting on a swing set. Why do you understand me? Why am I saying these words? Why do they make sense? Why am I... Oh, hey, sorry. I was just going a little bit crazy there because why are words words? Where do they come from? Why do we say words, and why do you understand what I'm saying, and why do I understand what I'm saying? None of it really makes sense. Well, I'm going to try to answer that question in today's video. So we're going to get onto the question of how did people invent words a little bit later in the video, because that is pretty complex and we're going to have to talk about it a little bit deeper, but we got a couple questions before we get into that final main meat question. So let's get into it. Firstly, is jealousy healthy in a relationship? There seems to be kind of this stigma around jealousy, especially in a relationship, where it's seen as a bad thing. You don't want to have a jealous relationship, that's bad. But the thing is I think people are confusing the word jealousy for the word envy. And they are very similar words, and it's very understandable how you can confuse the two, but let me clear it up for you. Oh, by the way, since this question is relating specifically to relationships, I'm going to be using the example of a wife just because it makes the most sense. Examples of envy are, I wish I had that guy's wife, or I wish that my wife did things like that guy's wife does. That is envy. Jealousy, on the other hand, is, I don't like it when that guy smiles at my wife. I don't like it when that guy flirts with my wife. That is jealousy. Hopefully in those examples you could see the distinction, but let me make it a little bit clearer. Envy is, I want what he has. Jealousy is, I don't want him to take what I have. That is the clear difference between envy and jealousy. This is kind of the confusion because envy in a relationship is a bad thing. If you are envious of someone else's wife or things that they do that you wish your wife did, that is a bad thing, because if you're so focused on what someone else's wife is doing, you'll start to maybe lose focus of the things that your wife does that you like. And sometimes envy can even turn into adultery in your heart, where you start to become envious over someone else's wife's body, wishing that your wife's body had that same body, which is essentially cheating. But on the other hand, jealousy is absolutely healthy in a relationship. Obviously, you should be protective over your wife. You shouldn't want another man to flirt with your wife, and your wife shouldn't want a man to flirt with her either. Now, the part where jealousy can become kind of a bad thing in a relationship is if it becomes a little bit extreme, almost insane, where you start to hide your wife and you start to not allow anyone to be around her. You don't allow her to have any friends. You don't allow her to go anywhere unless you're there to protect her. That's when jealousy kind of gets out of hand and becomes kind of bad. Just remember that jealousy is healthy in a relationship. You should be protective over your wife, and she should be a little bit protective over you. But jealousy starts becoming a bad thing when you start getting overprotective, almost to the point of insanity, where it's like, hey, you can't, anyone cannot be anywhere near my wife. That's when it becomes kind of bad. You should be jealous over your wife, but just don't make it too extreme and you'll be just fine. That was a fantastic question, and we have another fantastic question, but this one is relating a little bit more towards me. What is my best and what is my worst personality trait? And for me, absolutely, definitively, I would say my ability to talk and my ability to talk. The thing is my brain is constantly coming up with questions and answers and random thoughts just all day, nonstop. Having as many thoughts as I have, just constant, just running thoughts and things happening so often, it can become kind of overwhelming. If I just leave all these thoughts in my head, like I said, it becomes overwhelming and I need to expel them somehow, so I end up just talking a lot, and sometimes I talk a little bit excessively. And a lot of times me talking so much can get very annoying for people who are around me, and I understand this, and this is why I say that it is one of my worst personality traits, because it's very hard for me to just kind of stop talking. But at the same time, since I have so many thoughts throughout the day and I ask myself all these questions and I give all these answers to all these questions like literally all day, it allows me to be able to do stuff like this, where I can make videos and tell people my honest opinion and try to help them to learn something, because I'm constantly learning myself. So I can use my weakness of being able to talk so much to actually kind of do good things, like I said, to make these videos and to teach people things and to actually teach myself to critically think about these things instead of just thinking about all these random thoughts that have no substance at all. I could start thinking about more things that are a little bit more important and things that people actually want to know, and try to help people and try to teach people things that are actually useful. Maybe I could teach people stuff, and maybe just with me answering all these questions, I can even get people to kind of think a little bit like I do, to just try to use their brain and work through their thoughts and actually critically think about things and become a better thinker. Some of the people in history who are the most critically acclaimed are the thinkers, like Socrates and Plato and all those people like that. They just thunk. They just sat around and just started thinking about stuff and trying to come up with answers for it, and they came up with some pretty crazy revelations and ideas that have completely changed the way that the world is operating nowadays and the way that people think about things. I think if I could use my ability to think about things and just talk and use it for good, that it's gonna be helpful to some people other than just, the people in my house who don't think it's helpful and just think that I'm being annoying and just talking way too much. But maybe I could use it for good. My best personality trait is my ability to talk, and my worst personality trait is also my ability to talk. Okay, we're getting into the main event question. How did people invent words? The thing is, all we have is theories. There's no way to actually prove where words definitively came from. All we can come up with is the best, most plausible answer to how did people invent words. And the best plausible answer I could think of is ancient humans like cavemen probably tried to imitate sounds that they heard in order to describe a situation to someone else later. For example, if a caveman went out into the woods and randomly came across a tiger or something, and they were trying to explain the fear that they had when they saw this tiger and what the tiger looked like and how scary it was, they didn't really have any way to describe it other than trying to use sounds that happened to describe it to other people later. Maybe this ancient caveman would start trying to make tiger sounds and growl and, roar and stuff like that, and maybe scream or try to imitate the sound of the leaves rustling as they tried to run away from this tiger. They may have tried to imitate the sounds that were happening in the situation just with their mouth. Sort of like playing a game of charades with their body, but also with their mouth. So these cavemen trying to voice out onomatopoeias, which an onomatopoeia is a word to describe a sound, like, roar. You would say roar, that's an onomatopoeia, but a caveman doesn't have the word roar, so they probably just went roar, and that was their word for roar. And eventually enough cavemen kind of came together and realized that, hey, if we make the sound that this animal made and we make this sound as I was running away from this animal, they build it all together until eventually it's just universally recognized by all the cavemen that this is the sound that you make to describe this scenario or this exact circumstance. And eventually their language became more fluid, and everyone was kind of able to understand that, hey, if you make this sound in this specific pattern, that means this. And that is the basis of language. So in my mind, that's pretty much the most likely way that language became a thing. And now modern day languages are usually just a mishmash of some other language smashed together into different words that then become a new different language. For example, a lot of the English words came from Latin words and stuff like that, where we just took pieces and bits from this and bits from that and smashed them together to create a new word, which then became the English language. So again, this is all speculation, but I believe that the most likely way that language was created was a caveman trying to imitate sounds with his mouth to try to describe a scenario to another caveman. Alright, so that's about all I got for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned something. I hope that my answers were good enough for all of these questions. Again, that last one was entirely speculation. I have no idea on actually knowing if that's how it came about. That's just the most likely answer I could think of that makes the most sense in my mind. Anyway, with that, that's about it for today's video. If you guys have any other questions for me, put them in the comments down below, and I'll try to answer them as honestly as I possibly can in a future video. But with that, that's about all I got. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.